Alright, this is the Sage Wanderer. This is my stoned ramble. That's kind of cool. We do it again. Alright. So, pot's legal in Oregon, so not breaking the law because I'm a law keeper, not a lawbreaker. Yeah, I had me a meltdown yesterday. I think it's just all of the information coming together at one time, just kind of, the realization of what's fucking going on, man. So, I'm almost 50 years old. That's right. I may look 70, but I'm only almost 50. It's funny, when I was young, I looked, really young for my age. When I was like 30, people were still carding me. And 30 years of Texas sun and a lot of honky-tonkin' and just life, man. And put it on my face, you know what I'm saying? I look older probably than I am. My mom, God bless her, she comes to see me and I show her my videos I'm making. She says, "Son, you look like you're an 80-year-old man. You look like an 80-year-old man. Look at you, don't look that old to me, and those pictures are horrible. You shouldn't take those pictures." And I'm like, "Thanks, Mom. I love you too." I do have an 83-year-old mother. She's still working like 2 jobs, not because she has to, but because she wants to. 83 years old, and she works graveyard shift. Now you got to understand, money's not the big deal here. Well, it kind of is, because my mom likes to have nice things, so she just keeps working. But, she works at the cannery, and canneries right now are doing green beans. And my 83-year-old mother will stand there on a conveyor belt all night long and sort green beans. We're a tough bunch. My dad was tough in his spirit. He died at 82. He's buried in the Veterans Cemetery, National Cemetery in Dallas, Texas. Marine Corps drill instructor and logger when he was young. Left home at 14 in the middle of the, really hard times in the South, and went from Arkansas to the Panhandle of Texas and picked cotton, sent the money back to his family. When his stepdad died of tuberculosis, he packed up his mom and 5 little brothers and sisters, and he went to Oregon, kind of escaping the Depression and the Dust Bowl and all that. They did good for a long time, but it got to a point, once the old man died, they had to scoot. And he met my mom in a migrant workers labor camp, a fruit picking camp here in Oregon in 1950. And they got married and had us 3 kids. But the old man was a drill instructor. Then when he got out of the Marine Corps, got religion, became a Pentecostal hellfire and brimstone guitar playing preacher. And that's the family I was born into. And I grew up in show business, because I consider that kind of church work show business. I mean, that's the way we approached it. My dad had been trained up in show business. After he got out of the Marine Corps, he played around playing guitar and dance bands. Played with Jerry Reed for a minute, before Jerry Reed was famous, when he was a young guy. And so when he went into church work, he came in as a guitar player, and he played behind some of those kind of flamboyant, traveling, southern type, Pentecostal, tent revival preacher deals. And gosh, there was a Steve Martin movie, Leap of Faith. If you ever get a chance to watch that, and they're kind of phony traveling preachers. Not that my dad was phony, but I think some of the folks he got trained under were pretty phony. But he had a good heart. He raised me up in show business and the traveling family band, with him preaching and me backing him up with the piano. And it's how I learned how to do what I do. But yeah, my mom thinks I look old. I keep telling her, "Mom, I am old. You're just really freaking old." Once again, my stoned ramble. You'll probably be stuck with me for a good while if somebody don't do something to me, because I got longevity in my family. So, yeah, I think I've been on the government radar for decades. So I'll tell you a quick story, and I may edit this together, get my daughter to help me, and maybe release this separately. But here's part of my stoned rant. You ready? So when I found out I was going to have my first kid, it was right after the whole Waco fiasco. In fact, my son was just a little baby when the P. Murrow Federal Building got blown up in Oklahoma City. And so just prior to that was this last kind of Civil War scare we had going on. And you know, my instincts as a parent when I decided I was going to have a son, and then my wife got pregnant, I looked at the world being so screwed up. You know, I almost decided not to have kids, but I figured, how are we going to fix it if we don't bring up better kids? You know, so child rearing was really, really important to me. And so I got kind of interested. You know, first of all, Waco pissed me off. I could literally see the flames from the Davidian compound in 93 when it got burned up. I think it was 93. And I was standing there watching it, you know. I could see it. You can see for miles and miles and miles in Texas. And I didn't live all that close to Waco, but that was such a huge fire. You know, smoke came our way. It was downwind. So anyway, you know, I'd been listening to shortwave radio because I got interested in what the news wasn't telling us. That was clear back then. I was thinking that, you know, the news was not giving us the whole story. And so I got a shortwave and I started listening. And you know, I went out and bought my very first rifle. You know, I bought a Winchester lever action 30-30. I had read an article that said that in close combat using circular loading, the lever action Winchester was almost as fast as an AR in the hands of a skilled gunman. I grew up with one, so it was a gun I was comfortable with. You know, the 94 Winchester. Gosh, it's what I hunted with when I was a young man, and we always had one. So that's what I bought. And there was a thing happening in Dallas called the Preparedness Expo. Now, I'd been listening to a militia guy on the shortwave, guy named Mark from Michigan. Don't know what ever happened to him. But Mark from Michigan was one of many speakers, people that I'd been listening to about preparedness on the shortwave. Were coming to this expo in 1993. So, I didn't even go to Mark of Michigan's talk. I was really interested in looking at the products because they had a lot of, you know, exposition going on there, and I was interested in water filters and, you know, just stuff, survival food, that kind of thing. I was preparing to protect my son that was, you know, not even born yet. So anyway, but I heard the guy was there, and I went outside to smoke a cigarette. No, I didn't. I just went outside to get some air. Or maybe I was leaving because I didn't smoke in 93. No, I think I just went out. I was leaving. I was done. I was going home. And as I was leaving, in the lobby of the convention center in Dallas was this Mark from Michigan guy, and he had about 25 or 30 people standing around him. And he was like street preaching about the New World Order and about prepping and about militias. And so I stood there and listened to him talk for a little while. And for whatever reason, he ended up, as the crowd died down, going outside, and there was maybe only 4 or 5 of us standing around talking to him. And honestly, I was picking his brain, but I was also kind of debating him because, you know, I'm not really a militant type. And I questioned whether that was wise, what he was talking about. But also I wanted to know about, you know, how he thought it might go down if there was going to be a civil war in this country or some kind of martial law incident. So, you know, a gun grab, that's what we were talking about back in the 90s. So anyway, pretty soon everybody left, and it was just me and him standing there. And I don't know how we got on the paranoid concept that maybe the government was watching us. And I joked and I said, "Man, you're a radical. I better not be seen with you. You know, they might be watching us." And he said, "Dude, they are watching us. Turn around and look down the alley behind you." And I hadn't paid attention to which door of the building we came out. It was some side door. But I whipped around, and I'll be danged if there wasn't about 6 vans on one side and 6 vans on the other side of this little street that had the windows blacked out, and they had, back then it was harder to hide surveillance. You needed more antennas for wireless stuff. It was pretty primitive. But they had clearly had like way too many antennas on them to not be some kind of communication vehicle, and they just weren't even hiding it. He was definitely being surveilled. They were surveilling the whole place. They were making a list of people who were going to that thing back then. So, yeah, that kind of freaked me out. But that's how I think maybe I got on their radar. Maybe sometime later on, this is a conspiracy channel. I just got on the Civil War thing because it was freaking me out. But I have some stories about where I think I bumped into people that were actually surveilling me. And sometimes I think I've called them out and had weird conversations with them where they denied being, some kind of fed or spook. And I could tell they were lying, and they knew I could tell they were lying, and it was weird. So one of these days I'll share those with you. Hey, maybe they were nothing. Maybe the guy that met me went, oh, that's a weird dude, man. I don't know what he was talking about. Or maybe we were having some kind of almost coded conversation about how they were watching me. But, that used to look really paranoid. People used to think if you said something like that, you were a total paranoid nut. And then Edward Snowden came out and went, no, they're watching all of us. Of course they're watching you. They're watching all of us. In my first video, I say towards the end, I think the Illuminati is watching me make this video. And I think I've probably stayed not really a person of interest, and I think maybe at times they just forget I'm there, but if I make a move, that's when I start seeing it. Like I move across country, or anytime I change my address, they always seem to pay me a visit in these weird encounters that maybe sometime I'll share some with you. There's been a lot of them. But anyway, this is my stoned rant. My doobie's gone, my smoke is gone. And I'll see you next time as we talk about conspiracy and news and the Civil War thing. Trying to forget about it today. And God bless Texas and them folks down there. I hadn't talked about it because I was trying to cover this Civil War thing a little bit and just trying to talk about that because, this storm is so devastating, man, and it's getting so much coverage. I mean, it's covered. I don't even need to talk about it other than just let my peeps in Texas who I already know, and they know me, they know I'm thinking about them. God, Houston will never be the same again. But I'm trying to keep an upbeat, taking a chill day. Maybe I'm gonna make a video today. Maybe this is it. But yeah, God bless the Republic and God bless Texas.